Hello, so this is probably the last video that I ever expected to film. This was not on my 2023 bingo card, that's for sure. So basically about a year ago, I think, I filmed a video talking about the Guinness World Record holder for the oldest rat, who was Rodney, who was supposedly 7 years old when he passed away. And I basically just discussed in that video how, in my opinion and many others, we don't believe it to be physically or scientifically possible. And that opinion has been formed based on experiences with rats and their lifespans, and also various scientific studies that do mention the longevity of rats, and the fact that the only information available has been a very short paragraph on the Guinness World Record website that's then been regurgitated by different websites and people over the years. Besides that, there's not been much information out there on the internet about this rat until today. So I was checking my emails and I received an email from someone claiming to be Rodney's owner, and I'm naturally a very suspicious, careful person when it comes to things like this, because I have had people in the past pretending to be people they're not. I'm not sure why. That was my first initial thought, that someone was just messing with me over this. But she does go on to prove that it is actually Rodney's owner that I'm talking to. And safe to say, she was not happy about the original video. So she does know I'm filming this one, and I thought it'd be interesting to share our back and forth conversation, because she does provide documents, information, pictures that I don't think we've seen before. So this is the conversation we've had. So I am going to be super careful with this and block out people's names, addresses, any details, just for privacy reasons. But I do have all of these that have been emailed to me in the attachments. So the first email says, "It was brought to my attention recently you are very wrongly questioning our longest living cage rat, Rodney. He was a black hooded rat. My son was in the 5th grade and an avid reader of the Guinness book. He read the longest living cage rat was 3 years and 7 months old." Now that I can believe. And knew that his rat was much older. At this time I was a school teacher, and as his mother decided to contact Guinness. They sent me very detailed requirements that had to be verified to get into their book. One was a certified letter from a vet that had known the rat for his entire life, and it could not be a family member. Luckily our vet had records of the first time we brought him in as a baby all the way until he died, and that was just one requirement. All the documentation took nearly a year. I assure you it is real. I have the framed certificate they sent us, plus all documentation. And there is a picture of Rodney, the rat, in the first edition hardback he was in. Our family is proud of this record, and we do not appreciate being questioned. Check the facts, please, Becky. So I then replied what I think is quite nicely, because I really wanted some more information and clarity on the situation. So I said, "Hello Becky, thank you for getting in touch. If you are Rodney the rat's owner, it would be nice to gain some insight, as this has been somewhat of a hot topic amongst the rat community for years. Whilst I appreciate it must be frustrating to be questioned, as someone with a scientific background, science starts by asking questions and seeking answers. I was unable to check the facts, as quite simply there are no publicly available facts to back up the claim besides the very small sentence available on the Guinness Book of Records website, so I appreciate you reaching out to be able to clear this up. I would be happy to amend my original video on the topic if you'd be able to provide me with some more details, documentation or proof that would convince me otherwise. I'm sure you can appreciate why I, amongst many other rat owners, are sceptical of this claim, as it is an anomaly well past the usual 2 to 3 year lifespan that we see, and the record has been used by others in the past to perpetuate the idea that if your rat has only lived to be 3 years old, that's not good enough, because the Guinness World Record holder claims the oldest rat was 7 years old, and you should be aiming for that instead. Perhaps in the 80s rats were longer living. I'm open to hearing more." And then I went on to say, could I ask what documentation the Guinness World Records asks for besides the vet records? It does roughly state on their website, but I'll be interested to know all of what you had to send in. Was there a way the vet was able to verify that it was the same rat for the entire 7 years and not just a similar black hooded rat? If you could provide photos of any documentation or even the certificate you have, as I said, I'd be happy to look over this with an open mind and amend my original video once I have the facts that I previously was unable to access after contacting the Guinness World Records and receiving no response. Kind regards, Emmy. So she then got back to me with all of the documents pretty quickly actually, which is to her credit because I take so long to reply to anything. And she says, luckily I had kept some of the documentation, and of course I framed the certificate they sent us, and it is in our hallway. That was so cute. As I said, the rat was actually my young son's pet. He had many pets, but Rodney was definitely his favourite. He would bring him down to eat breakfast with us, took many trips in the car with us, and even was seen in the bank a few times. He was the only rat we ever owned. I can't say we did anything special to have him live that long, except love him a lot. I did have to giggle in your email of the mention of the rat community. I had no idea there was such a thing, but I'm not surprised. They make wonderful pets. For the record, I have never been on Facebook or Instagram or any social media. I'm pretty old school. I only came across your video after my nephew had seen it. I have no further documentation other than what is attached. We did not receive any money from Guinness or were not invited to appear on TV, simply got the letter and certificate acknowledging Rodney the rat is the longest living cage rat in the world. That is good enough for us and hopefully you. Thank you for your time, Becky. So if we take a look at what she has sent, these aren't in any chronological order, just the order that I downloaded them. First thing is the Guinness World Record hung up in their hallway, which is really cool to see. This at least does prove to me that it is Rodney's owner that I'm talking to. And then we have a letter. So this is dated February the 7th, 1990, and it says, I'm writing in regard to your correspondence with the Guinness Book of Records and Rodney's rat. I, blurring out the name, would like to confirm that in the month of February 1983, I presented Becky's son Rodney a rat as a gift pet. I have seen this animal from time to time and can verify that it is the same rat that was purchased in February 1983. I hope this is the information you need for your claim to fame. Let me know what transpires from all of this. So this is the first witness statement. I'm guessing the other one is going to be from the vet. And then we've got... And then she has also sent a copy of the guidelines at the time. You can find these on the Guinness World Record website, but I'm not sure if they've got stricter or they've changed in any way since then. So it basically just says the following should be provided in marathon events, so not this one, 2 signed statements of authentication by independent persons of some standing in the community, or by representatives of a relevant organisation of standing, including contact addresses and telephone numbers, independent corroboration in the form of a local or national newspaper cutting, or photographs or transparencies of the event, if possible of reproducible quality and preferably in colour. So essentially what I'm gathering from this is all you needed at the time to gain the record is 2 people, 2 separate witnesses that aren't directly connected to you or aren't family or friends directly, to corroborate your story or your event, and then just send in a couple of pictures. That seems to be all they require. Then we have a letter from the vet, and it says, records show that on February the 16th, 1983, I examined a rat owned by Rodney Mitchell. I found the rat to be born in late January of 1983. I re-examined the same rat named Rodney on November the 28th, 1989. The rat was alive and well, weighing in at 1 pound 11 ounces. This letter is to verify the rat is today still alive at 6 years 10 months of age. So this letter I found super interesting because the vet is describing Rodney, who is 6 years old, supposedly almost 7 years old, not only as alive but also well. I don't think I've had many elderly rats, and I'm talking over 2 years, closer to 3 years old, that I would necessarily describe as being well. They've always usually got something wrong with them, old age issues, their kidneys, their heart, their legs are getting a bit slower and weaker. I don't think I've ever described my elderly rats that are half this age as being well, so I found that interesting. Also, the vet states this rat is 1 pound 11 ounces. That is almost 800 grams of rat. And I've had some pretty big rats that have been 800, 700 grams in their prime. And as they've got older and old age issues have started to kick in, naturally they have lost a bit of weight and they've become more small and frail and old. And they've dropped down to about 500 grams. The fact that this rat is twice the lifespan it's supposed to be and still in a good state, weighing quite heavy, is very interesting, impressive to me. Anyways, we then have a letter from Guinness and it says, "Thank you very much for your letter and recent enclosures concerning your son's pet rat Rodney. We were certainly interested to hear all of these details, and while we certainly do not dispute your claim, we will need a second statement of verification from an independent witness." So I'm guessing this was sent before she got the other witness, either the vet or the person that bought the rat, which is interesting. And then we have another letter from Guinness World Records, basically just saying thank you much for your further letter in support of your son's claim for the oldest pet rat. On checking through the documentation, I am pleased to confirm Rodney the rat as the new record holder, and subject to your claim not being beaten before we next go to press, he should appear in the 1991 edition of the Guinness Book of Records. So that is that. We then have, I'm going to have to turn my phone this way, we then have a picture of Rodney, which is so interesting because I don't think many of us, unless you actually have this edition, have seen him in a picture. I don't think many of us even knew that he was a black hooded rat, so seeing him in a picture is really nice to kind of put a face to the name, I guess. But yeah, there you have it. There is a picture of Rodney the rat. He's outside in some bushes, I think. He's top-eared, he's black hooded. I don't think any of this text around him is about him. We do have a little bit that just says oldest cage rat Rodney, born in January 1983, owned by Rodney Mitchell, is the world's longest living domesticated rat. It's good to actually see a picture of him in the flesh as well, because I did get a couple of comments on the other video trying to make sense of everything, saying that maybe he was a different species of rat that does live a bit longer, something like a pouch rat for example. Nope, he is definitely a fancy rat. I think the thing that's caught my attention more than anything else is this chart on the other page that says caged pet longevity: rabbit 18 years, guinea pig 14 years, gerbil 8 years, house mouse 7 years and 7 months. Fritzy apparently lived from 1977 to 1985, making them 7 years and 7 months old. That is longer than Rodney is claiming to have lived, which mice on average, domesticated mice, house mice are the same species, on average live 1.5 to about 2 years. I have had mice make it to almost 3. I've heard of mice making it to 3. But this 7 years, 7 months, this is more outrageous than claiming the rat has made it to 7 years. That has caught me off guard as well. So if Fritzy's owner is out there, please get in touch because I need answers. But yeah, anyway, I just replied and said, "Hi Becky, thank you for sending all of that. It's been a very interesting read. Just to confirm from what you've sent to better understand the process, was the only supporting evidence they needed for the record 2 separate witnesses confirming they'd seen the rat, the gentleman who purchased him for your son, and the vet? Did they require you to submit any other evidence as well, for example, dated photos of him from when he was younger compared to when he was 6, 7 years old? It's something I've wondered about when reading about the record. Would you mind me talking about this and maybe showing the photos from the book to others in the rat community? Rodney has been somewhat of a hot topic for many years, and I don't think the majority of us have ever even been able to see a photo of him, so thank you for sending that. Kind regards, Emmy. So basically I just wanted to double check there wasn't any need for dated photos or anything really to prove that it is the same rat. I'm not trying to make her frustrated over this, I'm just wanting to get kind of clear ideas of the process of sending this in, but I think it is quite apparent that you only really needed 2 separate witnesses confirming that it's the same rat. Just to play devil's advocate for a second, I have got a grey hooded rat. They're quite common to come across in the pet stores here, and my vet is amazing with my rats and she knows all of them, she sees their pictures on social media. But I don't know if in 2 years time, if I took Kinder for example in to see her right now, I don't know if in 2 years time, if I got another grey hooded rat that was a similar size and weight and temperament when it comes to being handled and things, I'm not entirely sure, as good as she is, that she would know the difference without looking at like a picture of his markings, because they can have little spots here and there, or their hood on their back is a certain shape that's quite easy to distinguish between different rats. So I don't know, unless she was looking at specific pictures, whether she would know it's a different rat or not. Anyway, Becky then sent me her final reply and it says, I'm 68 and as you know it has been several years since I gathered all of the requirements for Guinness. The copies I sent you are the ones I still have. My memory is pretty good but not perfect. I do know we obviously met all requirements. The vet's letter verified it was the same rat in 1989 as 1983. I might add we had cats and dogs that were treated by the same vet, and since my son would take Rodney with us as much as possible, the vet had plenty of opportunities to see the rat throughout the years. Feel free to share the picture from the Guinness book. Anyone can purchase the hardback edition on eBay and see the picture for themselves. I included a picture of the hardback cover with the earlier documents I sent you. I sent several pictures to Guinness in hopes they might use one. So we were thrilled to see that he made the book. Again, Rodney the rat is the longest living cage rat as declared by the Guinness Book of World Records. We obviously fulfilled all requirements set by them. We gain nothing in return except the recognition. If this does not satisfy the rat community, they must question all entries in the Guinness Book. I look forward to seeing the edit to your previous video, Becky. So there you have it. That is everything I was sent by Rodney the rat's owner. Do I feel more convinced after seeing all of this? I don't think so. I feel compelled to want to believe her after having a conversation. I think that's a pretty normal human reaction because she is just a normal one-off rat owner. I think in my head I was thinking that maybe they were a breeder or something. She doesn't really have a motive to make this up or want it to be beating other people and beating other rats' lifespan. Say for example if she was a rat breeder that was claiming to have these rats that live 6-7 years to sell more, then maybe that would be more of a motive, but she's just a regular person who has a pet for their kid and is claiming that it lives to be 7 years old. I think I've just heard one too many stories of people's goldfish or hamsters being switched by their parents if they pass away to stop the kids being upset their favourite pet has died. I've just heard that one too many times that it makes me suspicious in other situations, and I think she made a good point that it has now made me question the Guinness World Records and their entire process for validating a record. They don't seem to require much evidence or much proof, in some situations at least. When it comes to animals' lifespans, they don't really need much more than 2 witness statements, which I feel like I could go to my lady in the post office and say, oh, you've heard my dog say hello, haven't you? Nudge nudge. And because we get on quite well, we're not directly related, she'd probably be like, yeah, okay, I'll sign that for you. And then I could, I don't know, slip someone else I vaguely know £100 under the table just for them to write me a letter and say they've heard my dog speak clearly and say hello or something, and then that seems to be all the Guinness World Records really want, and a couple of pictures to get a record. That seems to be all they require. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Oh, how I wish I could wholeheartedly believe this, and how much I wish it was undeniably true. The rats were living way longer than 2 years, 3 years. I wish there was rats queuing up to try to beat this record, but there just isn't, because rats on average do live 2 to 3 years old, sometimes a bit older, but I've had hundreds of comments over the years of people claiming to have a 6-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old rat, and not a single one of them has been able to give me any proof or pictures. They always conveniently seem to go missing, so I wish rats were living double their average lifespan, but unfortunately that is just not the case. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!